Following on from the events in the last episode, my camera was broken, so I'm going to have to tell you a couple of stories over a backdrop to fill you in on the next little bit. There's more footage for me to show soon. After crashing my bike and feeling frustrated with myself for a bit, I surveyed the damage and someone stopped to check if I was okay. I pushed on towards Woolooga on my bike, which was still rideable, but just with a couple of broken things. I arrived in Woolooga as the sun was setting and looked for a place to camp, but the only place I could find was a vacant block up the hill next to a house with an extravagant garden and neatly mowed lawns. I approached the older man who was watering the garden out the front of the house, and he introduced himself as Howard. We chatted about politics for a while, and I told him my situation. The screen door opened, and an older woman leaned out and demanded to know who Howard was talking to. Howard replied that it was a guy on a bike who was looking for a place to pitch his tent, to which the lady responded, "Well, tell him he can't do it here," before slamming the screen door. Howard explained that he had a disability and that the lady was his caretaker. He apologised to me and told me to ignore her. He was okay with it, given that it was a vacant block of land next door. So I set my tent up there in a discreet location and was about to fall asleep when I heard a man's voice outside. It was Howard, come to tell me that his caretaker, Colleen, wanted to apologise for telling me that I couldn't camp there, and that she would like to invite me to have breakfast, a shower, and to use her washing machine if I wanted to in the morning. So that's what I did. Colleen was extremely apologetic and explained that home invasions were a common thing in Woolooga. Her neighbour had been beaten to within an inch of his life by burglars, and in a separate incident her own house had been broken into and she'd similarly been assaulted in the process. I was a bit shocked to hear this news, especially given what a small town in the middle of nowhere Woolooga is, and emphasised to her that I wasn't judgmental of her behaviour the evening before, especially given that history. Colleen then proceeded to tell me all about her life, to which I sat, listened, and asked a few questions. She seemed to really appreciate this courtesy, and we all said goodbye on a cheerful note at around 11 a.m. Through the middle of the day, I followed increasingly arterial roads to Gympie, keeping an eye out for my nemesis, magpies, the whole way. I spent time at the library and bought food in Gympie before heading out of town to a campground next to the Bruce Highway, just before it becomes a motorway, the M1, where bikes are prohibited. I rocked up to the campground and headed right to the back of it so as to find a quieter place to put the tent, but there was an old guy with a caravan next to the site that I wanted, so I asked him if he would mind if I camped there. He took one look at me and asked, "Well, are you gay?" I felt like saying, "Well, not if you're asking," but I ignored him and ended up putting my tent there regardless. It felt unusual to be hit on by an old bloke, but I didn't feel as though he had any real power over me, so it didn't really bother me. Next morning I packed up as quickly as possible and hit the back roads towards Noosa because I needed to figure out a way to avoid the M1 motorway, and I wanted to see the beaches of the Sunshine Coast. I rode past cute little dairy farms and villages that appeared to be occupied by hippies, and my map directed me through a walking track in the forest so as to shorten the ride to Tewantin. I had to do a bit of hike-a-bike here and there and cross a few creeks, but it felt amazing to ride through such a shady and cool place for so long. Eventually I burst out of the forest and onto the immaculate cement cycle paths of the Sunshine Coast, which I followed through to Noosa Heads. I was blown away by the amount of money in Noosa. I found myself drafting a Lamborghini past Beverly Hills-style houses, riding impressive viaducts spanning mangrove forests and inlets, and navigating what by Australian standards was fantastic separated cycling infrastructure. Eventually, I hit the beach and took some footage on my phone.
This is Noosa Heads. Sorry about the crappy camera quality, but I've got to buy a new one in Brisbane or somewhere. I've not seen such white waves for quite some time. Might go for a swim later because I'm quite warm after all this riding. The Maroochy River. I've gotten myself seriously lost. I'm in Maroochydores over there. I came down to this housing development and on my map on Google, it said, oh yeah, that'll go right through, no worries. But of course it's a housing development and it's just going up now. And so they've got all the diggers out and the road is completely closed. And in order to go around, it's like 30 kilometres of backtracking. Probably more like 40, 50. So I thought, oh, I'll try and do a dodgy. I'm in a conservation park right now, nearby. I might be able to show on the map where this is, but I'm just looking for a road out of here, man. Anyway, I think I'll camp here in the park because it's much more likely than that to be publicly owned. So, but yeah, serious wrong turn there.
In the morning, I traversed the fence line of the reserve I got stuck in, which ended me up on a back road near some strawberry fields. This then allowed me to cross the M1 motorway and head down Steve Irwin Way towards Glasshouse Mountains. This road was an extremely dodgy 2-lane effort, with no shoulder and a lot of bidirectional traffic. I had to spend a lot of time getting off the road for my own safety before I finally arrived at Caboolture, where I was greeted by yet another very aggressive magpie. After some time in the library there, I continued on to Petrie, where I dropped my camera off for repair before heading into Brisbane's outer suburbs proper. Navigating by bicycle, a city I'd never been to before, turned out to be a huge amount of fun, and I took enormous delight in using my months of cycle training to outpace all the commuters in Lycra. Eventually, I arrived at Benjamin's house in Hurston, with just 3% battery remaining on my phone to contact him with. After a couple of days' rest at Benjamin's, I headed into the Brisbane CBD and caught up with yet another uni friend, Naomi. We sampled some treats from the cafe she worked at, went for a bit of a walk and went shopping for clothes and makeup. I felt a bit grubby being in such swanky stores wearing my touring clothes, but it was fun to hang out with her. We went down to New Farm and briefly met her sister Phoebe while she was at work. Naomi had to clock on with her, but invited me to go to the pub with everyone that night to see some live music, which we did. It was a big night. Phoebe and I stayed up to a ridiculous hour, chatting at Naomi's house in Ennerley, even though the girls had to work at 6 a.m. that morning. I rode back home the next day, and by this point the technician in Petrie was done with my camera, so I rode the 30 kilometres back up north to collect it. Is it working? Testing.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Right, awesome.
They're fine.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Well, I've got my camera back. Surprise, surprise. I got it repaired here at Accurate Instrument Services up in Petrie, just south of Caboolture. And Peter, very friendly and very good at his craft. He's been doing it for 36 years or so. Anyway, I got him to send me some pictures that he took of what was wrong with the camera and the internals. Very skilled technician. He'd never even seen a Panasonic before, and yet he was able to get in there and fix up the microphone port. I bought myself a new lens as well, which arrived from Harvey Bay. So back to normal. All up, it cost me $550. It would have cost me at least $750 for a new camera. So I'm pretty happy about that, and now I can document the rest of the trip. This is Layla. Hey Layla. Layla has a very eager to please personality. She's very shy sometimes, but she loves a good pat, don't you, Layla? And there's another dog. See if we can get Winston up here. Winston is an exceedingly happy dog. He will jump all over you. Layla! Oh, Winston. Layla wins. Layla always wins. Well, my chain just snapped just as I was leaving here. So now I've got to clean it. And then put a new chain on. Well, I got the cassette cleanish something. Sort of clean. Sort of cleaned this a little bit. It's grubby as, but whatever. And a new chain which I bought way back in Griffith. I've got the little connector here, and I'm going to put a quick link in the middle there. I've got the quick links here. Well, there's the quick link. It's in, and now I just have to stomp on that, and it'll slot into place. Basically, it's ripped all around the original repair. The other thing is that I've decided to cut this trip short because of the accident. In the accident, I broke my tent pole. It's repairable, but it's not going to last long. I broke my camera, which is now repaired. I broke my bags too. I put substantial holes in a few of them, so they're no longer waterproof. Everything's just starting to fall apart, and so I think I'm gonna call it quits, basically. So I'm going to take the train from Brisbane to Sydney. I'd like to do a stopover at Newcastle to see my friend Jessie. Yeah, I'll get into Sydney and hang out with some more people I know there, and then probably ride from there to Canberra, or maybe take the train. Depends how I'm feeling. Depends if I break anything more.
Okay, sweetie.
She clean.
Good enough.
Just walking around the house.
Yeah, it's a little bit
Hey
noisy.
Google. Hey Google. Turn it off.
Hi Sarah.
Hey, how you going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Should I just put it in the shoebox?
Yeah,
I'm doing
you can pick it up. There you go.
Why not?
Yeah, they're loving it.
Well, yesterday I was going to go into town to get some new pants from the cycling clothes shop. And of course, this was the second time that I'd tried to do this. The first time the chain snapped. This second time, it started raining. Oh, actually, no, it didn't start raining. I get on my bike and then I realised that I actually hadn't taken out enough links on the chain to make it the correct length. So I had to take the links out. And once I took the links out, it started raining quite heavily. So I think the bike is now ready to ride. So I'm going to try for the third day in a row to actually head into town and get some new pants.
After getting some nice new padded bike shorts, I spent the day hanging around Brisbane, and that evening rode to Naomi's place to watch a movie. We sat and enjoyed a platter of hummus, bread, cheese and vegetables that I'd bought at the supermarket on the way.
Yeah, she's not in a lot of good movies.
He's not
actress.
that into you, it's also awful.
God, lol. Yeah, this is like, they were like, look, we know you're Captain America, so we kind of want to bring that a little bit
Like
into
that.
it.
Does anyone want to guess what the budget was for this film?
Oh, I don't. Was it a lot?
It was a lot.
40 million.
Oh
No,
my
it wasn't.
god.
It was.
How much do they make though?
86.8 million.
They made their money back.
So, and a profit apparently.
Oh, wow. That's...
Yeah,
They made it because of Chris
Evans.
Evans. And this scene. Oh. No. They have a bro moment.
Morning.
Well, I'm sitting here at South Bank in Brisbane. I've just been to the bike shop. I've worked out what's wrong with my bike. It was slipping every time I would ride now that I've put the new chain on. And I'll just show you. If you look at the teeth on that jockey wheel, they're quite narrow. They've actually been really worn down. And so what the bike shop owner did was gave me some new jockey wheels. They haven't been worn because they're new, obviously. So hopefully that fixes the slipping issue. The chain was slipping down here as it comes onto this jockey wheel. He said it was a problem he's never seen before. Anyway, I have some strawberries and ciabatta and a bunch of other stuff. And I got myself some new gloves now that I've lost the old ones way back in Griffith. Here we have my bicycle, and here we have a public bike repair stand. I might use the pump. This here is one of my favourite structures in Brisbane, this bridge. It's a lot of fun to ride on, and it's for bicycles and pedestrians only. I've been running around trying to look for someone to talk to about the bike on the railway, but apparently it's just at the Tourist Information Centre in Queen Street here, so not at the train station after all.
After running around Brisbane to find the right person to talk to about taking my bike on the train, I found out that I would need to box it, which would necessitate removing the front rack and the fenders. I ended up posting the fenders and front rack back to Canberra using Australia Post, further lightening my bike by a couple of kilograms since my last dispatch from way back at Warren LPO. The bike looked a little naked without all its touring hardware, but it felt good to ride with the reduced weight. You haven't fallen out of the tree yet. Well done. Nice climbing.
I've lost the handhold.
You're getting all this practice in. Over the previous week or so, I had been helping Benjamin and his dad to cut down some trees in preparation for a backyard makeover. For me, this involved climbing trees and chopping limbs from them. Not the safest move, but fairly efficient. I had by now chosen the 15th as the date that I would take the train back to Canberra, and was starting to look forward to being home.
So, yeah, straight through the cut. I've never used one of these before.
Oh,
First
well,
time for everything.
but now you've told me that. Well, that's why I said you want to do it.
Oh, yeah, well, I didn't realise you'd never done that before.
Well, we're pulling out all the fences through here. Cut this one down. And this is the corner post between all of the properties. Well, it's Saturday today, and we've been working all morning. This is the result so far. We've taken out stumps down there, there, and we're just working down here now.
Benjamin kindly drove me to the Roma Street station at a very early hour the next morning, and I said goodbye to both him and to Brisbane.
Hi, Jesse. Fancy seeing you here. Where are you going? Yeah, that's what happens when you go travelling.
The seats don't. Yeah, normally they do that.
So Jesse told me that the bike box was going to fit in his car.
I didn't know how big the bike.
He didn't know that the car's seats don't go down, so the boot isn't expandable. So now we've got to try and maneuver it by putting the front seat down.
You mate. Fuck it, you mate. You mate.
It's hard. So we ended up just taking the box and giving it to the bloke, and it had my phone number on it. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'll just call you constantly." And I said, "No, I'm going to trust you. No calls.
Late night.
I'm going to trust you to remove my personal details from this box."
Late night booty call.
That's right. And now Jesse can't get out of the car park.
I just need to do a bit of expert
Maneuvering.
maneuvering.
That's right.
Okay. Alright, we're out.
Period.
All the boys shout out.
Jesse and I are just about to leave here in Newcastle. We're just about to leave on the train to Sydney. Where are we? Adamstown. Oh no, we're on Saturday weekends. 7:52.
Hey, a train that can actually fit my bike.
How small is the other train?
The other train doesn't have any areas like this. The XPT doesn't have any.
Oh, right.
You have to put the bike in a box, and wheelchair people have to ring up in advance. Yeah, it's a little bit crazy.
Having arrived in Turramurra, I caught up with some of my mum's old friends. Jessie stayed with us for a day before heading on to Sydney City, and then I got to spend a lovely afternoon with another uni friend, Brianna. I was aiming to leave Sydney the following day and head home to Canberra for the final leg.
Well, I'm just leaving Turramurra station now for the city, and then I'm going to get on the train to Goulburn. Well, I'm basically on the Sydney Metro train right now. Well, it's actually not the Metro, it's a T9, heading into Central Station, and from there it's like 2 o'clock now. It'll be 2:45 when I get there, but at 4 o'clock leaving Central to jump on the train to Goulburn. The Goulburn train terminates at 7:30, I think, in the evening. I was originally thinking, I'll just ride from there to Canberra and arrive at like 10 or 11 at night, but I've looked at the weather and we've got 45km/h headwinds predicted. It'll be very low temperatures as well. I messaged a few of my friends to see if they were going to come or willing to come and pick me up in their cars. But the other option is just to camp at Goulburn and then ride in the morning. There'll still be heavy winds, but at least it'll be daylight.
This train will stop at Wilson's Point.
I'm just at Central Station here, switching over to the Highlands Rail. I'm just hanging around here at Central Station for an hour while I wait for half an hour now, while I wait for the Southern Highlands train. And yeah, I can use an Opal card to get myself to Goulburn on that, which costs apparently $8.50 or something. For comparison, the train that goes all the way through to Canberra, the Explorer, costs, if I take the bike with me, $55, $56. Yeah, that's why I'm only going on the train to Goulburn. The other there are two other factors. First of all, I would have to book for the Explorer, and I would have to put my bike in a box. I don't want to do that again. I'm sick of the XPT and so on. I'd rather just roll it on, which I can do on the Southern Highlands train, apparently. Well, I've just arrived in Goulburn, and as predicted, it is cold and windy. It's really noticeable that the point on this trip at which the temperature has changed the most has been between Sydney and here, not between Brisbane and Sydney or Mackay and Brisbane. I guess that makes sense because we've just gone up a bit of a mountain range. That Opal fare was $6.10, I believe, or $6.20, something like that. Very cheap, very cheap. It's got to be the fastest way to get to Canberra. Oh, sorry, the cheapest, not the fastest, with a bicycle. So, yeah, I can recommend that. Yeah, so Kai's just coming to pick me up in a moment, which is really, really lovely of him. And then it's pretty much the end of the trip. Wow. I mean, there's not much to say other than that I am feeling quite overwhelmed. Very ready to sit down and do a little bit of nothing for a while. Here's Kai just now.
Hello, sir.
Hello. The bitter end of the trip, hey? Hug, please.
Hello? Oh, fuck all that.
Some metal on the ground. I'm back.
You're back. You got a nice beard.
Thank you. I grew it myself.
How much did it cost you?
Too much.
Your dignity.
Too much. I don't know what this is. It looks like solder.
Have you just been waiting outside?
Yeah, just sitting here and having a think about the fact that the trip is over.
Still got another hour left. Not a hot pot, something quicker. Alright, hello. It's been a while since
I know I want to play that piano. But I'm glad to.
Juicy. Thank you.
It's okay.
Come on. I'm allowed to be.
The hearing isn't on top of the world.
Thank you. See you.
Manies in Goulburn! Yee! Come on, floor it. You can burn him off at the lights, mate. Now the bike's going to shake all around in the back.
Like that already.
You don't have the right muffler for this, Kai.
It's not going.
Anyway, I don't know if you have any opinions on any of those thoughts, or if they're even things you've thought before, or whatever. But I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was really.
I've definitely thought about it like in different, like in lesser degrees, like less explicitly about like that necessarily, but.
Well, everybody, that's it for the series. Thanks so much if you've managed to watch this far. It's been an enormous amount of work for me, but it's also been a joy to be able to share these moments with you all. Thanks again.